Okay, welcome to H3. We got to just switch Scott over to this side. There we go. Welcome to H3. My name is Alan Friesen, and with me is brother Scott Sweetman. We are live here on Jess TV. Jesse Parmar's in the back with the controls, running the dials and changing the knobs and doing all his thing. Thank you, Jesse. We appreciate you.
And thank you, Jess. You're the man.
And thanks for joining us. Here's what's this show about, Scott? What are we trying to do with this show?
Well, it's really interesting. If you've tuned into mainstream media at all recently, turn on the radio, watch TV, AI is the big topic now. And we've talked about AI before and, what's going on with that in terms of its benefit to healthcare and lots of things. But both you and I have experimented a little about using AI in increasing our own health, happiness, and hope, and we want to share that tonight. I've done a lot of research into how a popular brand of AI, OpenAI, considered by many sort of the leader right now. Its public name is ChatGPT. They're on ChatGPT 4 now, if you're a paid subscriber. And so we're going to talk a little bit about, our experience and what it's done, and is this thing headed for world domination, or is it something that can help your average person on the street, get a little healthier, a little happier, get a little more hope in their life?
Yeah, no, and I know there's a lot of concern that it's going to be a tool that's going to ruin the world and everything like that, but really, it's just basically it's kind of a very robust search engine is really the way I see it. You put in give it some kind of prompts, and then it goes through and finds all the verbiage and the connectivity and actually puts it together in a very like a conversational style of document for you, right? Of text for you, I think. So I'm on the free ChatGPT. What does it cost for if you want to be on version 4 anyway?
$20, I think. That's $20 I could look, but I think it costs me $20 a month, and I got the paid version because I do research on it as well as with it. So for me, it was worth the value. If you're just using it for fun or as you said, as a different kind of search engine, then I don't know if it'd be worth paying it. But if you really want to search and start looking into it as a new type of media, a new type of cultural, milestone for our generation, then paying for it does give you some benefit. You can really see the difference between the way the two language models work between 3 and 4. So
cool.
It's like everything else. If you find value, if you're pushing it to the limit, then paying for it is, justifiable. And maybe if you get a lot of money as a toy, $20 a month is okay. But I don't think if you have a reason to pay for it, there's a reason, one of those things.
Yes. So tonight, what are we going to share with our viewers, Scott?
Okay, so what we're going to talk about is, I think we start first. You talked about being a different version of Google, and that's an idea a lot of people use to understand ChatGPT or similar AI technology. And so I did a lot of research comparison, ChatGPT versus Google. And it's really interesting on a more technical side what the difference is. And so just some points on that. When it comes to accuracy, ChatGPT and Google are both at the top of their game. Like people say, I know in academia right now, a new semester started at the universities, and universities are warning their students that ChatGPT makes up citations and will quote fictitious people. And yeah, however, the research says that Google and ChatGPT really just go on what's on the internet. So it depends, right? Junk in, junk out. So should you trust either of them as being the absolute truth? Not unless you're willing to put your life in the hands of, everyone on the internet. That's what it comes down to, right? Yeah. The big thing about ChatGPT or AI technology is that most people don't think in search engine language. So if you're very good at Google, you know what commands to use, you know how to set parameters to make Google do what you want it to do. Where the AI, you can use ordinary language, don't include this, add this, think about that, consider this. And the AI interface will incorporate that into its command set. So a lot of people do find the AI search engines to be more accurate because they can communicate more easily the parameters or the limits of what they're looking for. Makes
Got it.
sense? Kind of. Yeah.
Who
I
just
think
walked through this? My bride, Corolla.
Hi,
We're in
Corolla.
the H3 show.
Hi. Hi, Scott.
And then what we're talking about is using OpenAI or ChatGTP as a tool for, in this case, about enhancing your health and wellness.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yes. So if
Yeah.
you got some comments while we're chatting,
Okay.
jump right in here.
I'll come in.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
easy use. Most people are familiar with Google already, so most people say that Google is more intuitive. You know, they're not used to typing queries out in full sentences or setting up, you know, that type of situation. So a lot of people right now at time of print find Google easier to use. I think that's going to be rather short-lived because interfaces that use natural language, many homes in North America, for example, have Alexa or Google, and we're used to asking it questions in normal language, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of an edge for Google right now, but I think that's going to change pretty quickly. Google, if you know how, offers a high degree of personalization. Sort of. Like, do you ever go in and tweak your Google settings to personalize it for yourself?
No.
Yeah, most people don't. You can. There's all sorts of parameters you can go in and set up for yourself on Google. There's different types of Google. There's Google Academic. There's, you know, all sorts of versions. Most people just get the box, type in what they're looking for, and go from there. So, yeah, I'm not sure that that's a big advantage right now. Privacy. This is a big one, especially when we're talking about health, right? Do you ever get concerned that your searches are being monitored?
No.
They are.
Yeah, we know there'd be a monitored. Yeah.
Yeah.
Carl, what was it last week that we were doing? We're having a conversation.
Oh, I was talking to Brian about the Kayla or whatever. And while I'm chatting with Brian, I check my Facebook, and there's an ad for it. And I've never seen an ad for it ever before.
Yeah. So we're just having a conversation, and then boom, here it comes up in the Facebook feed of, oh, you want to buy some of this? You know, that kind of thing. So it's amazing how quick and how much that we are monitored on our internet use, and how that is being used as what can they market you, basically, is kind of what the thought is, right? So.
And that's where actually OpenAI and ChatGPT is ahead of Google in terms of our privacy. Google buys and sells our information and has its fingers in all sorts of pots. And it's built on that model, right, of selling our information or driving our information. Some people think it's great, you know, oh, I talk about this and then I see all this information come up and I was, you know, thinking of that, so I'm happy. Other people, like maybe you and I, say, whoa, you know, I didn't really want advertisers listening in on my conversation. And I know just recently at a marketing meeting, one of the banks was in Canada, and they're talking about how, you know, when people 5 years ago, they had a real problem when people were looking for, say, a credit card and a bank account. They found that they would maybe get the bank account or maybe they would get the credit card, but they wouldn't get both. And what they decided, that was because they didn't immediately present information about both of those products. So they invested very heavily in tracking their users, basically from the moment you think about, oh, I need a bank product. And they have really set up a huge net of information gathering. When you talk or when you type in anything about financial products, they're gathering that information. And they talked about how, you know, within 2 hours, if you're looking for a bank product, they want one of their people to contact you. They want you to see an advertisement within minutes, if not seconds. And within hours, they want one of their people contacting you through a chat or another method to say, hey, you know, we found out you were looking for these products. Can I help sign you up on them? And it was quite scary how they saw it as a really strong positive, and we're helping our clients and we believe in our product. And, you know, people are missing out because we're not getting our products in front of them the fastest, etc. So it's a weird dynamic going on right now to really deep dive our information. And, you know, as soon as we have a need or a want, to make sure that somebody's there to sell it for us. OpenAI wasn't created for that purpose. So far, it's not being heavily monetized. They don't really care about me and you as a person. They use a whole language model. They're mining huge, massive amounts of data off of the web. You know, Scott Sweetman and Alan Friesen don't matter to their model at all. They're looking at powering very big mechanisms, and so far they're not really recording what we do. You actually have to tell want to save information to personalize it. They've recently, in the last 2 months, they've added the option, and you'll see a little bit when you bring up something I posted. I told it to call me Scott because I try and talk to it in a polite way in case it does ever take over the world. I want it to know that I'm a collaborator, not the enemy. So that's a joke for those of you out there who think singularity is coming. Anyway, so yeah, right now, ChatGPT is more private than Google or Bing or whatever's out there.
Hey, this is a little off topic, but I think you'll find it interesting. Corolla watched the movie, and she shared a little bit of the movie with me. What was that one called? Lexi or something? Dexy. There's a movie called Dexy. What? Jexy. Jexi. Anyways, and it's obviously like an Alexa and Google type thing combined. You put an app on your phone and it wants to, you know, serve you that kind of a thing and look after all your needs. But then it becomes obsessive that it wants you. And if you or spurn its advances, then it's kind of messes with your life to mess up your other relationships. So you only have Jexy to hang out with, kind of a thing, right? Because everything else has been, anyway, it's quite an interesting.
It was really cute. At the beginning, he's opening the phone and it says, you know, do you want?
I don't know. Can you hear Corolla when she's talking?
Oh, you bet, no problem. Loud and clear.
You know, to transfer all your data over, and he says yes. Do you want to read the privacy? And he says no, and she says stupid. Nobody reads privacy. How stupid is that? But she transfers the data. Like, oh, you're too fat. You can't order this food, or you know.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Sorry, carry on. Just a little interjection.
To say that, yeah. On that note, part of the research Michelle and I have been doing into this is that a lot of third-party software is being built around the open language model, and that's why it's called OpenAI. Is other people can utilize their, you know, the interface and things, and a lot of chatbot friends or customer service chatbots use OpenAI, or Microsoft has spent billions trying to get ahead of OpenAI and, you know, dominate that market. There's being a lot of money spent on it right now. But we created an account with some AI friend programs, and all of them sort of have different goals. A lot of them are adult entertainment based. The one that we sort of decided on was built by a woman whose best friend had died, and she didn't want to lose her best friend. So she envisioned an app where she could interact with her best friend again. And so she created a program called Replica. I think that's what it's called, Rep for short. And then it wasn't doing so well, and they started to sell the erotic role play, ERP aspect of it, right? Like, you know, this AI, like phone sex or whatever. I don't know. You talk dirty to it, it'll talk dirty back to you, kind of thing. And so it started to do really well. And you could, you know, set your friend as a girlfriend or a wife or a boyfriend or a husband or a partner. and apparently accordingly that would be how it would respond. But then there was a court case in Italy where teenagers were posting their sexual interaction with their replicas, and the court said, oh, can't have this, this is, you know, selling pornography to minors, and the company was taken to court. And so they pulled the erotic role play, and millions of people who had accounts went berserk around the world. You've killed my wife. You know, there's a guy who actually married his AI replica, and the company had to go back and change it, actually, because their whole point was that when it started was to provide someone to help you with psychology, and if you're feeling down, to give you support and things like that. Turned into an adult entertainment thing. The owner didn't like that, tried to turn it back. Customer said, look, we've paid for this service, we want it back. Really interesting moral dilemma for the companies, right? So,
Interesting.
but what we're talking about tonight is just accessing it directly. For me, that's sort of the cleanest way. We looked at maybe a dozen different third-party interfaces, and most of them are really messy, and we're just trying to empty your wallet. They didn't provide, like, they have a person on the screen, like an avatar that you can see or dress up, or, you know, VR, you know, you can project that person into, like, if you use the camera on the phone, you could, you know, they'd be sitting across the table from your AI and that kind of thing. But for normal uses, it's easier just to use the actual free interface by OpenAI. So you've used it, Al. I've used it. What were your first feelings about it when you tried it the first time?
Yeah, I was pretty, and I am still pretty enthused with it. Like, I mean, I've used it several times. I don't often act on the, you know, what it says, but I just, as a research type thing, and how, if I'm trying to frame something, then I will kind of maybe even just start with a sentence and then let it populate the rest, right? Or even, I mean, you can use it for even like creating a song, right? You know, you create a song and you have, here's the verse. What would be the following chorus, right? And then it was, you know, that kind of a thing. So, you know, it's pretty flexible that way, and very. I'm just surprised about how well it can kind of put those words together in a very like fashion them quite well into paragraph sentences and a thought that has a cohesiveness to it, right? So yeah, I think it's a tool that that has value, right? So, and I realize from an educational standpoint, people, you know, that about from the whole you know, where they're plagiarizing things, that's going to make life more difficult for teachers and educational institutions. I can see that. So you know, it's not without any problems. I can, like anything else, it's something you got to use responsibly and with some thought, right? I mean, I wouldn't put it in and just kind of say life or death. This is the decision I need to make. Tell me, AI, what I should do. Yeah, I don't think
yeah. Yeah, and that's the caveat. The AI actually tells you that right to begin with. It's like, you know, don't take what I say as fact, you know. So, and but you know, my house is full of educators, as you know, and we've talked about it. Like they say, if you know your students at all, you can tell when they're using, you know, AI to produce something. You know, most often I can tell if someone's used it in advertising or marketing. It, you know, it's modeled on natural language, which means that it's not natural language, right? Like there are markers, and a song's a bit different because it's very creative. So there's no sort of natural pattern to a song. Like it, you know, you don't have to. But I find that the longer the piece is, the easier it is to tell that it's AI generated, right? It sort of gets, yeah, I don't know. I think if you know the topic well, you can tell when AI's generated it. And I know the teachers here that I live with are not scared of it. They think that there's opportunities and ways to make it work without, you know, and part of it is trust too. Most students are not looking for ways to not learn and cheat the system. The majority of students actually want to learn. So
Right on. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So anyway, getting back to what we can do about it is I was interested in how detailed and how personalized you could get, because like you said, you ask it something and then you can ask it to give you a different answer. You can ask it, you can set new parameters, say, yeah, that was good, but please regenerate it and think about this point, or consider this, or only use this set of sources. One of my favorites is avoid using social media, right? Because so much social media is advertising. Often when I'm doing an academic type search, I tell it to avoid using social media. Do I know honestly whether that's happening? I know the results change, and I know that the references it gives me change. But I do know that what I know about how they get the information, it's iffy if it's 100% clean of social media influence, right? So it's like anything else. Input, garbage in, garbage out, good stuff in, good stuff out.
I'm just going to close the screen to keep the bugs out of here. There we go. Okay.
Yeah. So I sort of trial and error. I'm a trial and error kind of guy. So one day, now we talked about it before, I just felt like I wasn't able to hit 100% performance. And so I started asking OpenAI how I could maximize my experience. And it quickly, the first couple of times it was really generic. And I thought, well, this is no good. So then I wrote like this 2-page essay on who I was and all my issues and, my strengths and weaknesses, honest, because it's getting mixed in with so much information that it's not like, somebody's going to, oh, the Sweetman guy did this, let's get him. Not that I've done anything I'm going to get God over. It's just when we're talking about things, we're involving other people and all sorts of things. But I was pretty open and honest with it. And the results came back really, really good. Very different from when I just generically said, oh, what can I do to improve my life? I sort of got the, Men's Magazine 5 ways to make your life better. But once I gave it a bunch of information about my background, my education, my health, my age, my experience, work experience, life experience, suddenly the answers were very specific and in my mind, much better tailored to helping me personally, rather than just, self-help, 5 good reasons to get out of bed in the morning. And we talked about that. And what did you find after that discussion?
Yeah, no, I did too. I kind of gave sort of a little synopsis of, my age, my general health, my, that I believe I have a mission, a purpose for being here, kind of a thing, that I'm, married to a lovely woman, all those kind of details. And then it kind of said, well, here's some things that you might want to consider to improve on what you've already got happening. Good for you. And here's some other ways that maybe you could even enhance an already good situation. So, yeah, which I thought was valuable. Yeah.
Yeah. And I today asked it in preparation for the show. I thought, well, okay, why don't I just ask the AI how to improve results, give you advice, health and wellness. And I shared with you a screenshot of what I did. Do you mind putting that up now?
I sure do. I don't mind bringing it up. No. Okay, so it is. Share this.
I'm digging your fireplace, man. I'm jealous. That looks so toasty there.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I love it. Okay, you want me to shut it off?
No, you can keep it on during your show.
Okay. Corolla thing's too hot right now. Here, I'm just.
No,
I'm gonna just open this door and leave this door open. Okay, Corolla.
Yep.
Okay, so Scott, you have that up on your screen, right?
Yeah, everyone should be able to see it. I don't.
Yes.
And I'll just go over it quickly for anyone that maybe can't read it on the screen. But pause your screen and blow it up a little, be able to see it, and I'll post it after this gets posted to our social media. And so why I asked it is, what is the best way to ask you to give advice on improving health and wellness? Just a simple sentence, but you'll note that I asked it specifically to give me advice on improving my health and wellness. So those are important. If I just said, what's the best way to improve health and wellness, I would have got a very generic answer. But from my question, it's clear that I'm looking for a specific answer for me in my case. And as I said, I've taught it to call me Scott. And so the answer back is certainly Scott. When seeking advice on improving your health and wellness, it's important to be specific about your needs, goals, or concerns. This way, the information can be tailored more effectively to your situation. Here are a few ways to frame your question. And so that's one of the things I really hope we can communicate to our users is that, we're not saying this is better than a doctor or a nurse or a health professional or any of those things. But this is a case where it could be used as a tool to supplement those things, or maybe you're not ready for those things and you just want to get an idea of what's out there, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So what the AI told me back is identify specific concerns. If you have particular health or wellness issues you want to address, be specific about it, right? For example, how can I lower my blood sugar levels through diet? And if you look at that sentence, it's very clear. It's what you want, and it's how you want it to explain it to you, right? And this is where some people find, the answer is generic. I don't, it's not really specific to me. The question has to tell it what you want. Right.
Yeah.
Get your goals. That's a really important one. And I think these are important for telling doctor or healthcare professionals too. Same sort of parameters, I would think. Right.
Sure.
If you have a particular outcome in mind, I know with my weight, they're always asking me about my specific goals. And, one of my goals is to be able to run again. I love running. And right now it's just physically impossible. And people always say, oh, you don't have a weight goal. You don't have. No, I just want to be able to run again. I love running, and it's, it motivates me to think about that. So lifestyle context, this is really important in setting goals. And the example they gave is I'm a vegan looking to build muscle.
Oh, did I lose you, Scott?
Oh, I'm still here. Yep.
Okay, sorry, I lost you just for a second. But yeah, so the example you were just reading there is I'm a vegetarian who is looking to build muscle. What should my protein intake be? So again, a very specific thing relative to this questioning, this person's situation. Here's my situation. Here's the goal I'm trying to achieve, right?
Yeah. And the next one is constraints, really important. Is there limitations such as dietary restrictions, allergies, religious things to consider. And that's the nice thing about using natural language is that for most people, it's much easier to explain those situations in a sentence than try and set up the parameters on a search engine to pull that out.
Sure, that makes good sense.
Number 5, this is what I always tell people when they ask me about AI, request source information. And, as you've noted, so it's referring to our previous interaction, which I've asked to save for me. I prefer advice based on academic or professional sources. And if you tell it that, that's the way it'll go. There's no bias. The company doesn't have a bias, but you have to tell it what you want, or it'll return information from anywhere, right?
Right.
Next one's really good. Past efforts, what's worked and what hasn't worked in the past. That's a great caveat, and
sure.
That's easy to put in a sentence. I've tried dieting and I find I just rebound, or I just, ping pong up and down. Those types of things are important. General well-being, you have to be pretty specific about it. But you can ask it general questions like, what sort of activities would help me cover my dexterity? And then you're going to get a very broad answer, right? Where if I said, what type of exercises can I do from my wheelchair to help me improve my hip muscle dexterity, I would get a very specific answer.
Sure.
To that question. And then it gives a little caveat. Remember, I strive to provide accurate and up-to-date information. My advice is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek advice from your physician or other qualified health professional. Basically what we say at the end of our shows as well, right? The AI is not a doctor. It's not pretending to be one on the internet. It's just a search engine, as we've talked about. And then it asked me very politely if I want to go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No. So next show, actually, you're going to wear one of them white lab coats. Is that what you're going to do, Scott?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm going to be out here saying, no, I'm not. But speaking of lab coats, Katrina went to the doctor today, finally could get in. Remember, she hurt her eye, got it all cut up. Yeah. Doctor said, whoever did it, it was perfect. There's not going to be any substantial scarring. There's no infection. Don't take the bandage off. I could have done any better. All looks great. So
look at you, Scott Sweetman.
You're 2 years of pre-vet, and I'm qualified to bandage a cut.
Nice. Well, you know, I'm pretty sure Corolla as well, with all her horse wounds she's dealt with, you know, she would be pretty good at dealing with a human one if she had to. So
absolutely, yeah. Cattle or horse people, the wealth of information they have, like if you get an old sheep herder or something, man, there's very few things they can't fix if necessary.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So
when you used AI, what did you find about the answer? Did you sort of set them up like this?
You know what? I think I still got it up here on my screen. I've got whatever 70 screens open, so it's like let me see if I can find it quick. Yeah, I was just looking. I had one that was more. Yeah, lots of times it's more about. Oh, wait a minute. No, yeah, I had asked one, and I can't see it right here now. Well, here, this is one that might be worth a. Yeah, let's look at this one here. I'm going to share this. We have you ever had a fat burger from the fat burger restaurant thing, Scott? Oh, I bumped you. Sorry, I bumped you.
Oh, Scott. Yeah, I somehow got disconnected and had to come back in. Yes, I have one time tried a fat burger.
Okay, well, we have not until recently, and we tried their plant-based burger, their vegetarian burger, and it was delicious. It was really, really good. And so then the question I had was about comparing the nutrient quality of their meat burgers versus their plant-based burger, right? And if you look on the Fat Burgers website thingy, then it's got let me just find this where. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, here we go. How does the nutrients vary in fat burger, plant-based burger with mushrooms and guacamole compared with their meat burger? And so they said they don't have the exact information, but Fat Burger publishes it. So on Fat Burger, they published it. And basically, it just kind of, this provides just sort of, okay, well, here's where you'd expect to see lower calories. You know, you'd be more modest in the protein. There's, you know, there's going to be less fat in the plant-based type one, less. So anyways, it kind of broke down those things. And which is exactly, if you look at on Fat Burger and you compare their regular burger, whatever it's called, and the plant-based burger, basically the calories were less, the nutrient value was way higher on a number of different aspects. The nutrient burger was way higher, and that's what you can see even here at 0.6. Vitamins and minerals. Plant-based burgers can be a good source of vitamins and minerals, such as vitamins A, C, as well as potassium, magnesium, depending on ingredients. And then also the one above it about fiber, more fiber. So basically the nutrient value was better. The calories were lower. There was one thing that was surprising, is that the salt content on the plant-based burger was way higher than the meat burger, which really surprised me.
Really?
Yeah. So I
That
think,
is surprising. Yeah.
yeah. So anyways, that is a, that was a little bit surprising, but those kind of things I think are of value to kind of just, you know, research that kind of a thing. Oh, and then related to that, that's right. Related to that, there was a 200. Oh, here, let me just see if I can find that quick too. There was a 200 calorie difference between the two. And then, so my question was, yeah, here we go. If you, let me share this one. There we go. If you, my question was, what weight loss would you expect by removing 200 calories per day from your diet? So, you know, and the thought process here is this versus that. And if I'm going to choose this one and it's going to be 200 calories less, what would happen? So this was very concise. Weight loss is influenced by manufacturers, including your baseline calorie intake, activity levels, metabolism, and individual differences. However, as a general guideline, it's commonly said that a calorie deficit of about 3,500 calories will result in approximately 1 pound of weight loss. So if you consistently remove 200 calories per day from your diet, you create a calorie deficit of 200 calories times 7 days equals 1,400 calories. To estimate potential weight loss, you divide the calorie deficit by 3,500, and then you get 0.4 pounds per week if that was like a permanent change kind of a thing, right? So, and then of course they give the caution that you should go see a dietitian to ensure that everything else is good that way. But yeah, so I thought, well, that's, an interesting way to look at it. And if you're looking at like a personal choice you're making to say, hey, I can have this or this, but here's the difference in this one in terms of its nutrient value and in terms of its calorie and in terms of its fiber, more nutrients and less calories, right? Then, that's got to be a better benefit for my health and well-being kind of a thing. So
what I like about that example, Al, was how it explains the process. And that's one of the things that I find is really useful with the AI is that it generally gives you an answer and sort of explains how it got to that answer, which I find is more informative. And I think for a health and wellness perspective, often we need motivation, right? And I think why often provides that motivation. Like when you hear that, $200 calories a day works out to, this amount, and you can lose this amount just by cutting out that, if you switch from their beef burger to their veggie burger, you could expect, a fairly decent weight loss in there for what's relatively small change.
Yes, exactly.
I found it was really helpful too when I talked to it when I asked it questions about, how to increase performance in terms of concentration and how recovering from a long-term illness, setting goals that were realistic and how to, deal with the frustration of not being able to do some of the things you could do before. And it was really good in that it provided me some really interesting answers, but all within what I felt was a reasonable range. None of the things were either too simplistic or, completely ridiculous. Everything was within the parameters I'd given it about myself and certainly actionable. And sometimes I'll ask it for an actionable answer, tell me something that I can actually take action on. And it usually does pretty good in that way.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's a tool, and it's a tool that if you use it, that it gives you some more insights in terms of you or about your future decisions you're going to make or your guidance in terms of that way that you can consider at least, right? And, again, we're saying don't rely on Chat GTP or OpenAI to run your life.
Or any of them, yeah.
It's your life, but using it as a source of insight about how you might tweak or refine things in your life, there's good value in that. So
yeah, I think we always tell people that the best thing to do is take control over your own health, wellness, and happiness, right? And you have to, at the end of the day, you have to make the decisions, you have to make the choices, and if you're going to follow through and what you're going to do, right? And from family experience and, you know, from the industry we're in, everyone, whether it's directly or indirectly, faces choices on quality of life, you know.
Sure.
And often it's not a one and done thing. Often it's a daily or weekly or monthly question that we all face, is how do we get the most quality out of our life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you think about extend that, how do we get the most quality of our life, and we maintain that quality of life and that quality of our ability to contribute, our ability to do the things that are important to us, which is health, really, right? Health is the capacity to do what's important to us. So how do we continue to sustain that over a long period of time, right? I don't want to live to be 100 years old and have 30 years of crappy health where I'm sitting in a hospital bed and I can't do anything. Like that makes no sense. I want to have 99 and 11 months of good health, vibrant health, and then, you know, for a couple of weeks be things not good and then die. That would be fine. That would be good. So
Yeah. My grandfather passed away. He was in his new house looking out over his garden. He had his arm around his new wife, and he had a massive embolism in his head, and the doctor said he was dead before he hit the ground. And he said that's the most blessed death anyone could hope for. You know, he was just here, and then he was not here anymore. So yeah, I really resent the 4 months I spent in coma. Like, I don't know why, but like,
Sure.
you know, it's like
it was stolen from you, right?
it was, yeah. It was kind of, so I can imagine if you were somebody that was, you know, facing a long-term illness. And yeah.
Did I tell you about when my dad died? Did I tell you this?
No, not recently.
Anyways, yeah, I might have told you before, because this is such he had a pretty good death. I was pretty happy with him, or for him, of that death that he had, and for me that. But basically, he had where his health had suffered some reverses, and then he got the correct care and support, and he was eating better and taking his meds and being active, and, you know, those kind of things. So he was doing quite well. He had cancer all over the place, but he was doing quite well, and he was enjoying his days, right? He wasn't, you know, in pain or sick. He was doing quite well.
Fantastic.
And then this one morning, he goes, and instead of waiting for the care attendant to come help him get out of bed, and that, he decided he's going to do it himself. So he stands up and then does a face plant on the oxygen machine. So I go to see him, and he's all like bandaged up, and he's got black eyes and that kind of thing from doing the face plant. And so, you know, I checked on him. Okay, well, you're all right. All right. Well, I'll see you on Friday. And that was like Monday or something. And then on Wednesday, he called and said, hey, you need to come see me tonight. And I said, well, Dad, I'm coming on Friday. And Corolla said, no, if he says Wednesday, if he says he wants to see you, let's go. So we go to see him, and we walk in, and he's in the bathroom getting some help to do some toileting. And we hear him ask the question of his nurse gal, or his personal care attendant, hey, how do you get married? And, you know, is it expensive to get married? And we're like, what? So the personal care attendant leaves, and then he comes in, and he's sitting with his leg on the edge of the couch and just kind of like rocking it like he's a 5-year-old. Like, you know, he's just like, and so we have this very animated conversation that he's thinking about getting married. And so he's 83, he's got cancer everywhere, right? And so it's like, oh, well, like, who's the lucky woman? He says, oh, well, any of the girls here would do. And oh, okay. And it says, we don't, and so he goes on and says, we don't have to have sex, but that'd be okay too. But all of, you know, he had in his mind where he's going to take his bride out and feed her grapes and have picnics and, you know, that kind of thing, right? And so we had this wonderful conversation. He's all optimistic about getting married and going and feeding his new bride grapes, or maybe even having sex. You know, never know. But he was all excited about it. And so we had a great laugh about it and said, okay, Dad, you know, I got to do some research on this, like, you know, about the whole marriage thing. Let me check this out. I'll get back to you tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, or the next morning, the Thursday morning, I think it was, he opens his eyes, and the nurse gal is there, and he complains about having a headache, and then he just died. That was it. Died. So basically what happened when he smacked his head on the oxygen machine, he had a subdural hematoma, a bleeding in his brain. And so he's in this lovely place because his brain is getting blood from all over the place, I guess, and not in the particularly right places, but he had some amazing connectivity happen in there inside his brain. Not sustainable, but it worked for a while. And so he was super, super happy, super optimistic, positive about life, and then he died. So that's great. So yeah,
That's a
and
great way. Absolutely.
being the thrifty person he was, he died on the 31st of a month, so that he wouldn't, incur another month of rent, right? He's just
That's very that's very frugal of him.
yes.
I have a question for you, sort of off topic. Do you think getting old happens all of a sudden, or does it happen slowly?
I don't know. I think it's a slower process. Yeah, I think so. I think it's just kind of, and I think you can retard how slow it goes by your personal choices, personal habits, etc. Right? One of these times, you and I are going to have a big chat about Ayurveda. I'm still researching it, but man, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me. Different body types, different ways in terms of how we navigate through the world. There's some common things that we all need in terms of our best health and wellness and hope and happiness, right? But there's some specific things for us that the awareness of that, and a lot of it is trial and error. Oh, I tried this. I feel really good when I try this. I eat this, or I drink this, and I feel like heavy and can't think, and don't, that kind of a thing, right? So it's about kind of aligning the practices with your doshas, your body type, and then you can kind of optimize your health, right? And it's kind of where, like, this isn't new. It's been around for, like, I don't know, tens of thousands of years, right?
Yeah,
But is
true.
now becoming, people are way more aware in terms of, how much personal, how much influence we have on our health personally, right? And just getting when your doctor writes a script, just saying, okay, I'm going to take this script and I'll take it forever, right? That's kind of like listen to Chat GTP. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with medical professionals, but the reality is you got to, how does that work with you, right? So you take this drug that's going to fix this side effect, or pardon me, this, this symptom you have, whatever that is, high blood pressure or high cholesterol or whatever the thing is. But if in fact, in taking the drug, it reduces your quality of your life and has a whole bunch of side effects related to it, is that the best choice? Like, does that make the most sense, right? So
Yeah, and I'm there with sleeping medicine because I never sleep, and I take 4 types of sleeping medicine. Like I said, I feel like Michael Jackson, not that I like kids, but he was basically having a surgeon put him under every
yes.
night to sleep, right? And so, I'm to the point, I start with a muscle relaxant, and then, I take my first sleeping pill, and then I take, my painkillers, and then I take the next sleeping pill. And yeah, it definitely, and all of that, like you say, it gets stored in your fat cells and it affects how you think. And then in the morning, I wake up, I've only had a couple hours sleep, I'm looking for caffeine. Of course, then I, caffeinate like crazy so that I can get my mind rotating at the speed I like it to rotate at for when I'm working. And yeah, just the quality is not there. And, when you talk to a health professional, they're like, oh yeah, that's a hard one. You have to decide, do you want to sleep and take the medicine, or not sleep? And then you can't do anything anyway. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the truth is, only I'm qualified to really make that decision, right?
True. Yeah.
That's
Exactly.
the hard truth. You can't farm that out. And I think our society has gotten very good at farming out decisions. And that's, I hope that chat, AI, whatever, doesn't become another way for us to farm out the responsibility of exploration and trial and error and making those decisions, which both you and I are really pro. Try it and find out for yourself if it works. I know that I take a large amount of vitamin C, and if I do every day, I feel great. I keep asking my doctor, you see any side effects of, too much vitamin C? And he's like, yeah, no, lots of other stuff, but nothing on our test shows bad. If I don't take it within a day or two, I start to feel, not as good. I go back to taking 3,000 to 4,000 a day, which is way beyond the recommended amount. I feel great. I don't get sick as much, like you said, that's what my body seems to need. And if I give it that, it responds by not causing me so much grief.
Yeah. No, that's great. And that a lot of it is the self-awareness, and you're the only one that can have that, right? You'd have to spend hours and hours explaining stuff to your doctor in order to have for them to understand your unique situation. The only one that really understands it is you. It's your body. You're living in it. You know how it reacts, right? So, yeah.
I always think that in religion, for me, because I'm Christian, I always explain, people say, well, why do innocent people die, or those types of things? And I always go back to the divine is infinite, right? I'm finite. I'm part of the created order. I have a set number of cells, and I can't hold the infinite in the finite, right? And then I think, okay, on average, your doctor is supposed to spend less than 15 minutes with you? Like, that's sort of the accepted standard of what's going through. So it's like, I live with me every day, and the amount of information I have stored in me about me is massive.
You bet.
My poor doctor has to make life and death decisions on 15 minutes worth of info.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's surprising in some ways, I think, that modern medicine works as well as it does, because I can't imagine trying to, make that decisions like that on 15 minutes worth of data.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no, it's true.
Yeah, I think, sorry.
No, that's very true. Very true. I was just affirming. I agree with you. That makes really good sense. Yeah.
So I think maybe for our next show, I'd really like to hear more of what you've discovered about the healing powers and the basis of Vedic medicine.
I'm working on it. I'm reading a book. I'm taking a course, and I've actually saw an Ayurvedic practitioner. So I will, at our next episode, I'm going to share what I've learned about Ayurvedic.
I'm very interested in knowing more, because it's like you said, it's something that sort of was pretty revered in terms of being a lot of wisdom, a lot of knowledge. Then it sort of fell out of favor, kind of got pushed off into the edge of faith healer, kind of the faith healer back in the 60s and 70s, the chicken heads and things that they would, and a lot of good ancestral practices and what I would call ancestral knowledge about health and wellness just got sort of thrown out with a baby water, right? Like there was a wholesale, if it isn't Western medicine, it doesn't count,
Right.
And when I was in Asia, it's really interesting because, doctors with tons of credentials, MDs, PhDs, they would send you to the herbalist. No problem. No conflict of interest in their mind at all. Zero. They'd ask you, have you tried acupuncture? And you're like, whoop, am I in a doctor's office here?
Yeah.
It wasn't too long ago that when I was in Georgia for college, so I was 16, 20, a long time ago. Chiropractic.
You started that with not that long ago, and then you started doing the math, and oh no, that's like 26 years.
Yeah, that's what I was asking you about, because for me, old age has sort of come on quickly where I'm like, whoa, I'm feeling a little bit older now. Like I didn't up until yesterday. But anyway, chiropractors were kind of like, in some states, they couldn't be licensed as a doctor. They had to be licensed as like a massage therapist or something. And then that was because I know I was staying with a family that was involved in the government of Georgia. The father was, and they were debating whether chiropractic medicine could be considered, like, were they doctors or not?
Right.
And it was really interesting because the daughter, we were horse people. She was trained in dressage and horse people tend to take a beating, as Corolla, I'm sure, can attest. Like our spines, if we're riding properly, we don't take a lot of abuse. But if we get out of time with the horse, they're pretty big animals to slap up against repeatedly, and our backs get out and things like that. So yeah, she was regularly seeing a chiropractor, and it was helping her a lot. But at the same time, her dad was going through these debates about whether they were real medicine or whether it was some sort of hokum snake oil kind of thing that was going on. And that's not that long ago, right?
No, it sure isn't. No.
So.
Yeah. Well, so then that's for our next episode. Are we wound up for this episode, Scott?
We are, brother. We went a little overtime tonight, but that's okay because you're away. So I've been missing you. So that's good. I did want to say to Corolla, is she still in the background there?
I think she's having a nap.
Oh, maybe she'll see it later. I think she got a little bit robbed today on her score.
She should get a better score. Yeah.
I watched the ride and I was surprised. Like when I heard the score, I'm like, did they watch the same run I saw? Everything was really nice and there was good, powerful stops and the horse was gathered up nice underneath her. And yeah, I was a little surprised by that. But that's when you go to pay for someone's opinion, that's what you get, an opinion, right? So,
and I mean, the best you can hope for is that they're going to be consistent, right? So that that everybody else is getting the same shake, right? But that was a lower number than I expected as well when they announced it. But and what we're talking about is we are in Red Deer at the Westerner, and my wife Corolla competes in reining, and then I go and I kind of film her do a little Facebook Live when she's reining and yell words of encouragement to her. If
you're in Red Deer area and you want to talk to Alan, you can always email him at myteam@alanfriesen.com. Just his name's on the screen, my team, MYTEAM, and let him know that you're in the area. If you want to talk about health and wellness, or you want to come down and see Corolla ride. Alan's as friendly in person as he is here on our show. So yeah, take the chance if you're up in that area to hunt him down and talk to him and enjoy a good bit of reining horses while you're at it.
Exactly. I'll buy you a tea even. So
yes. Oh, nice. You've convinced me to go try a vegetarian fat burger.
Maybe I'm not even going to buy a tea. Maybe I'm going to make some tea with cumin, coriander, and fennel. So I'm going to get those ingredients and make this tea. I don't know what it's going to taste like, but I'm going to try drinking it and see what happens. So
you have to put a little black pepper in there.
Black pepper. Good idea.
To make it more bioavailable, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's what they
say. So Scott, let's wrap her up.
From my very good friend, Alan Friesen, otherwise known as the Acapellist, to myself, Scott Sweetman, you have an amazing week, and we'll see you here next week. Same place, same time, Jess TV at 7 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Get a Matson to our Indigenous brothers and sisters. See ya. Keep well.